Good evening, everyone. Um, I'm going to go ahead and get started on my day at the beach painting. Um, I'm just going to don't need any tracers. We don't need anything like that. We're just going to freehand it, and we're going to just do some blending. I'm going to show you how to do that. We're just going to put the sky and the sand, and of course the ocean will be we'll blend in the ocean there, and that way you can learn to do a little bit of blending, and especially for the sky. Sometimes it could be a little tricky, so we'll go ahead and get started on that. And today I'm going to go ahead and use it's a 9 by 12 flat canvas. We're going to do that today with this picture, and you can also do this on a mixed media pad. You could buy those at Walmart or Michael's or any craft store. And then it's heavy paper where you can paint, you could watercolor on it, you could use colored pencils, pretty much anything. And it's something that you could either keep in there as a keepsake and have your little just have pictures of your artwork, or you can tear them out and hang them up. You can put them in a frame and hang them. I've done that before, so they're just nice to have, and that way you can practice that way, and then you can go ahead and go to your canvases and work on them. So I do that still. I still use my mixed media pad, especially with an idea that I may have, and I would like to just practice and draw it out and see what or how I want to create that. And then that way you have something as a guideline and an idea there before you start on a canvas. So we'll go ahead and get my paints ready. I have, right now I have on my palette, if I can get it up here to show you before it kind of, let me get this adjusted here. Okay, and on my palette I have a light blue, which you can mix that with a white and a regular, just your cobalt blue. Then I have a different shade of blue over here. It's a little bit, let me see, for some reason I'm not able to get that. There we go. We have a different color here. Let me get this angled right here. Maybe that'll help. Okay, and just a few shades of different kinds of blue there, and some white, extra white, because you definitely need that when it comes to making your sand. And I'm going to go ahead and put some of the nutmeg brown on my palette and mix that up and make it like a lighter tan color with that, with some white. When I do pictures like this, I use a wider brush, a bigger brush, and that way you can get more paint on there. I mean, you can use your 1-inch flat brush, especially on the bigger canvases like your 16 by 20. Those are the larger canvases that I do paint on. You can do that, or you can use the 1/2 inch, which is this one here. Sometimes I go back and forth, just depending on how much coverage I want to have. I'll probably start with the bigger one right now for the sky. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with my cobalt blue. It's just a basic blue color. I'm going to get a good amount of paint on there. And I'm just going to start here and get that turned around so you can see this. I feel like I just don't have everything angled right here. So, okay, we'll go ahead and start at the top, and I'm just going to go across, just straight strokes, just across, just like this. And start putting in my blue. Just a little bit more, and just go straight across and get some color on. And I want it lighter, so I'm just going to add a little white. We don't want it that dark, so this is where the blending starts. I like to do this rather than to start with a light blue. I just like to start with the darker and then work up layers. And when you do that, you can, for one, get more paint on your canvas, and it does cover the canvas better by doing that. So you get a little bit more white, just enough to cover it. You don't have to put a lot on, just enough that you know you can blend, and you just keep going across, up and down, across, and just blend. Get a little more white. And you can make it as light or dark as you want. I don't mind just a little bit lighter at the bottom because we're going to put the ocean in the middle there. Get a little bit more blue, just a tad more dark blue up here, just a little bit. And of course the ocean will be a little darker, so you can see it better. So now I'm just going to go ahead and go back and forth with some more blue and some white and blend. Just keep blending down to where I want to put the ocean. Just mix and just keep blending all the way across, straight strokes. I didn't put my lines on there. I normally draw my lines to mark off where I want my ocean and my sand to be. But you can wait and do that after it dries a little if you want to still do that. That's no problem. Okay. Now we're getting down to where I want to put the ocean in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my smaller brush, my 1/2 inch flat brush. Okay. It's looking pretty good. So there's your sky. We just blended the two together. Okay. I'm going to have my ocean dark a little bit right. I'll use that same blue, dark blue. Well, actually, it's the basic blue. I call it that. Some people call it the name, cobalt blue. And then they have like a true blue. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do this by eyeballing it, and let's hope we get this straight. So you want that to make sure it's kind of giving you a good line to separate the sky, of course, and just kind of just put that in there. Um, if you can't get it straight the first time around, you can always go back. It's not hard to go over this paint. It's acrylic paints. They are very forgiving, and you can paint. Once it's dry, you could paint right over it. And okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of this other lighter blue in here for the ocean, but I wanted to have a outline there for the edge of the skyline. So I'm going to go ahead and just remember, when you're doing something like this and you're blending colors, just keep an even stroke of your paint going back and forth. It does blend a lot better for you that way. Get a little bit more of this blue. May put just a little bit of green in here. Not much, just a little bit. I'll probably use a, let's see, I have that here. I should have had it already out, but I didn't. Okay. Okay, music's just a little loud, I think. We'll go ahead and maybe try a little bit of, well, I thought I had it here. There it is. This one right here. Well, yeah, it's called Laguna, actually. It's like a sea breeze kind of color, turquoise. I'll use just a little bit of that in there and give it some little bit of contrast in there from the skyline. So just a little bit, and then just mix it in. It's a little dark, so I may just add a little bit more, of course, of the lighter blue. Just a little bit. I won't need too much of the lighter blue, but just a little bit to get it to blend in there. There we go. Now, this is going to be your painting. You can blend in these colors any way you'd like. Whatever you like in colors of your sky or your water. You may want your water to be a little darker. You might want it to be a little lighter. Easels move it around. But I like these colors for a ocean scene or a beach scene. I kind of like these a little better. But you can use whatever colors that you like. That's one thing about it. There's always different oceans and different scenes and different colors, and mix it that way it makes it ours with our taste for colors. Okay, so far this is what we have. We have the skyline, and the ocean right through here. I have just a little bit more. Bring that water down just a tiny bit more. And keep blending those two colors together. And you just work your way up into the next color. When you add that color, you just work it in and just keep going across. And you could always go over it the second time, but it looks like it's covering very good so far. So that's what it's looking like now. So we'll start on our sand. Sometimes I put a little white along with the tan colors that I use for the sand, and just kind of build up the different layers. See if we can get that blue out of there. And stops your brush really good in between the colors, because you don't want anything to mix on you and cause your paint not to make different colors and of something you may not want. So make sure you wash it out good. So now I'm going to use a little bit of the white, a little bit of the brown that I showed you. Now you can also buy, you can have the tan, you could buy that. There's different shades of that, it's different names. I have this here, and it's called Mocha, light mocha. You could buy that. I'm just about out of that. I think I've got another one somewhere, but I thought I'd just go ahead and make my light. I may use just a little bit, whatever I can get out of it here. But you can always make your different shades of your tan colors and whatever you want to use for your sand by mixing paints, can sometimes save you, especially if you run out of a color. So I'll do a video on that, showing you how to mix your colors, to take your basic colors and mix those and make different colors and different shades. So can save you some money, and maybe also save you from not being able to finish a painting when you're in a bind. So okay, so I've mixed that up just a little bit, and it's just about the same color as that mocha color. So, and we'll just go ahead and start putting that in here. And if you get over into your ocean, your blue, it's not going to hurt it too much, because we'll be putting some white waves and different kind of, just a little bit of shading in there anyway, and it will cover good for you, and you won't have to worry about that. So get that mixed up a little bit there. A little bit, maybe a little bit more brown into it here. But you want to go along there as even as you can for right now. And like I said, you can always go over that, and we'll be adding layers anyway. So if you make a mistake, you can always go over it and fix it. I'm going to take some of this other here and add in here. It's just a little bit darker, so we'll add this in here and just kind of blend it right in. See that just a little bit darker. I think you should be able to. We'll just go ahead and blend that in. Bring it down. Probably keep making it just a little bit, maybe just a little bit darker, just a tad up here, and just kind of blend that in right here. And we'll probably put a little white in here, because your sand is different shades, of course. Different beaches, some of it's all white, some of it's little tan colors. So it does change it up. So far it's not looking too bad. We're getting it. I think we're getting bumps in the paint. Oops. Just make sure you shake your bottles of paint good too, because they will tend to get kind of divided in, kind of not, there's different kinds of paints that will be thick or maybe a little runny or whatever. You just want to make sure you mix it really well before you pour it out on your palette to start your painting, because that way you don't have to deal with big lumps, because it will happen. It'll dry up in some places. This acrylic paint sometimes will do that. There is some acrylic paint thinners that you could buy. I just use a little water, not a lot, just enough to thin it out, especially when it starts to clump up and kind of get too thick. But just be careful with that, not to use a whole lot of water, because it will, especially when you go to put it on your painting. You don't want no water runs or anything like that. You can always lay your picture down flat on a table. I do that sometimes when I'm doing some projects, because sometimes I just need to have that where I can get to different areas depending on the subject matter I'm doing it. I do that, and it does help with like the paints if you have to water some paints down. That way you don't have to worry about that. If that does happen, you just catch that with a paper towel, or you can use a baby wipe that does take off the paint. The baby wipe will, because it does have a little alcohol in there, and it does help do that. You can just paint over it and correct it, which makes it nice. I'll make this just a little bit darker here on the bottom. Hopefully you can see that I'm making it a little bit darker. It doesn't look much darker that I can tell, but where I'm looking at it, and maybe I can see it's a little bit darker, and then you just blend that in there a little bit. It's already starting to dry a little. I mean, if that happens and you want to do some more blending, just add just a tad more paint or just a little water, just a little bit on your palette or on your brush. Just dip it in some little bit of water, and it'll just like this. I'll just do that and wipe it off real good, and then just kind of go in here, and that'll blend for you. See, that helped that blend right in right there. And up here I want that edge just a little lighter in there too, and we'll probably put a layer of lighter colors in there and some whites, and so there's going to be different layers of paints on here. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to finish this up tomorrow. We'll probably put a couple palm trees in there, and maybe a couple other things, and I'll show you how to do that, and then we'll go ahead and finish up this painting tomorrow. And I want to thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed maybe learning a little bit about blending some colors and blending your paints. It's easier than you think. A lot of people think it's it's kind of a scary thing when you start into a painting like that, like this. But if you just take your time and you know, just remember to do your strokes back and forth, and keep adding your colors, and then work your way up and keep blending. It'll work out for you, and it'll look really good, especially with other paintings too. It doesn't matter what the picture is, what you could do it for anything, any kind of skies, water, or even in like say a country scene, or anything of that nature. Grass, the ground. There's all kinds of times that you can use colors and blend them, and it just creates a more realistic look in your picture. So, all right, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Have a good day.